Hey everyone, welcome back to Ramble Media. Today I want to do things a little bit differently. I know recently I've been posting a lot of reviews of specific books, mangas, etc. But I was thinking of recently I've been reading much more than I ever have really in my life. And one key thing I've done is I've been reading a lot of shorter books rather than jumping into like a longer, more daunting book. Although now I decided to take the plunge and start reading Dune, which I'll definitely make a video about it once I'm done. But yeah, I just wanted to recommend you guys six books that are 200 pages or less. So, if you're struggling with finishing books or you just lack the motivation, this might, kickstart your journey into reading a bit more or, jumping back into it. So, before we begin, I will say that I tried to make the list a little bit varied, not just have sci fi or fantasy, but add a sprinkle of different genres. So, yeah, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, let's jump into the list. So, the first book I'll recommend is All Systems Red by Martha Wells. And basically, this book is for people that are looking for some fun sci-fi romp with funny and really relatable character. The book is really short, only 149 pages or so. And essentially, it's from the perspective of a sec unit or security robot. And his task is to protect these scientists that are in this survey mission in a remote planet. But the mission goes south and they have to figure out what's causing their problems and why. And so it's a mystery story with a little bit of action, and it's all from the perspective of the titular murder bot because the series is called Murder Bot Diaries. But yeah, the basic premise of it is it's his diaries. He has a governance module which he's hacked into, so he has complete control over himself. Nobody can really force him to do anything anymore, but he still pretends as if he has one. And yeah, it's just a very funny book. The main character, the murder bot, is very human, very relatable. He goes through a lot of social anxiety, depression. He loves to watch soap operas. So, and yeah, it does get a little bit deep. I mean, there is some meat in this bone. It's not just for fun. I feel like a big central theme of this book and the books afterwards are what it means to be human. This is the other thing. If you like this book a lot, you can keep reading onward. I mean, there's, I think, 7 or 9 books now in the series. I've read the first two only for now, but I definitely saved them for as breaks in between like much heavier reads. And I would recommend you to do so as well, or you can just binge the whole thing because most of them are around 150 pages. I think there might be 2 books that are full on novels and not novellas, so definitely check this series out. So, the second book I'll recommend is A Wizard of Earthsea by Ursula K. Le Guin. And this is more for you fantasy lovers out there. This is set in like this magical world called Earthsea that is basically an archipelago, islands, just like many islands in a sea, sort of kind of like One Piece, but that's the only similarity. Everything else is completely different. But yeah, this book is 183 pages, and it's a coming of age story. The main character's name is Ged, and basically we see him from his humble beginnings in a small village, in a small island, also from a rural setting, and then growing into becoming a wizard, magician, going to wizard school. And then he has to go on this journey because he makes some big mistakes that have some big repercussions, and he has to right his wrongs. And that's what the story's about. So, yeah, it's a lot of themes about like confronting the darker side of yourself and learning about who you are, coming of age story. But yeah, I would definitely recommend this to maybe people that loved Harry Potter and that want to find maybe less actiony. I guess I never read the books, but I watched the movies, and probably in the movies they highlighted the action more. But this is definitely supposed to be more for children. Although I would say that as the series goes along, it feels much more serious. There's still magic and everything, but the themes get a little bit darker, more poignant in my opinion, and more deep. I really love the concept of the magic in this series. It's very unique. It's really about understanding the nature of things and learning what they call like as the real name of everything, because there's like a language of, I guess, making. That was the original language, where how things were made and things were defined. And so if you find out about like let's say a being's true name, then you have power over it. And I think it's really cool and it's really unique compared to, I feel like, other like generic stories. But yeah, there's 3 more books after this one that complete what is called the Earthsea Quartet. And afterwards, there's 2 more kind of supplementary books, one short story book and one other book that I don't know much about, honestly. But yeah, I would really recommend this book to fantasy lovers out there if you're looking for an alternative to Harry Potter or maybe something in the style of like a Studio Ghibli movie. Next, I'll talk about Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka. And this is more for people who want to get into maybe some more older books, some classical literature, something that may not be interpreted literally and you might need maybe some more context of the author's life and so on. Something, I guess, a book that could be studied in college or high school, but you can still enjoy even without doing any research, at least in my opinion. But yeah, this is, I would say, absurdist fiction, or I guess magical realism is the genre. It's only 73 pages long, so the shortest book in this whole list. But it basically centers around Gregor Samsa. He wakes up in his apartment one day, and it turns out that now he's this big bug, I guess a big ass beetle. He doesn't know why. It's not really explained why. That's not the point of the story. This is not the setup for some magical story with wizards turning people into bugs or something like that. This is just taken as it is. And basically, the whole story is about how him and his family have to deal with him becoming a bug, learning to adapt to this new reality and just facing it. So it's a pretty sad and depressing story, but quite funny, honestly, because there's maybe some unintentional or intentional humor regarding the fact that he's just a literal bug, but still has the conscience of a human. So there are some silly things that ensue and some funny depictions, but I mean, this is all taken literally and very seriously in the story. And I would say the biggest theme I got out of this story was what happens essentially with us when we're no longer of use to society. You know, like this story I feel like could have easily been told, in a very different manner. Instead of him turning into a bug, maybe he wakes up really sick and he can't go to work anymore. It could have done the same effect, but the fact that he's a bug makes things the more ludicrous, ridiculous, and maybe makes the story, hit harder. So yeah, I would definitely recommend it. This is actually probably one of my favorite stories. I really related, oddly enough, with the main character, and yeah, definitely check it out. Next, I want to talk about Elder Race by Adrian Tchaikovsky. And this is a sci-fi slash fantasy, or I guess sci-fantasy story with a very unique premise. It's around 208 pages, so, the longest, but definitely don't let that discourage you from reading it. And it takes place in kind of this medieval kingdom that's in another world, so not Earth. And in it, there's this ancient tower with like this prophecy that supposedly it has this wizard or sorcerer that's been trapped in it for centuries. And this princess comes in to request his help because there's like this pact supposedly between the wizard and her peoples. So she needs his help for a new crisis that's come up. But it turns out that this wizard is not actually a wizard, and he's a scientist, he's an anthropologist, and he's studying this, I guess, in his eyes, primitive civilization to see like their developments and how they progress. So it's a really cool, like, twist on things where, like, from her perspective, things are very fantasy like and like sorcerers, magic, prophecies, etc. And from his perspective, it's much more cold science fiction setting. So it's a very unique blend. I've never read a story like this. But yeah, they go on a journey to clean up this crisis, which is like this corruption that's threatening the land, its people, and its animals as well. Next, I'm going to talk about Small Things Like These by Claire Keegan. Now, this is for people looking for a more serious and real, grounded in reality story. This novella, I guess, is historical fiction. So The events in the story didn't literally happen, but a lot of this is based on things that happened in Ireland in real life. So yeah, the book is around 120 pages. And as I said, it takes place in Ireland or in the 1980s in a small coal mining town, very like working class town with, a lot of issues of poverty. And it's all written from the perspective of Bill Furlong, who is has a wife and three or four daughters. He is more better off than most people in the town. He essentially has a business where he delivers coal and lumber to households and businesses. And it's a very reflective book. He's reflecting on his own life growing up without a father, and how like his mom, who was a maid for this like more affluent lady, took care of both him and his mom because she saw that they were in need. But yeah, he sees some troubling stuff that's happening in the town, that's more of the historical real things that actually happen in Ireland. And there's an excerpt by the end of the book that is worth reading, that definitely remember that if you do in fact read this book. But yeah, he sees some troubling stuff, and it just begets like this kind of theme in the story of like, in the face of injustice, will you be quiet or will you do something about it? So yeah, I really love this book. It's really short, but it packs a punch. I would say it packs the hardest punch out of any of the books I've recommended so far. And then the final book I want to talk about, more, I guess, quirky pick, is A Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Murata. She's a Japanese author. And this is a more grounded literary fiction story. It's around 176 pages. And it's about this 36-year-old woman who has basically worked in the same convenience store for her entire life, ever since, I guess, she graduated high school. Ever since she was in high school, she's been working there. And she really loves it and takes her job really seriously, does her best to try to she has a lot of issues, I think, with social cues and the social contract. So she really takes seriously how to be more approachable and be better at her job, just dealing with customers and stuff. But she does have a hard time interacting with others and leading a social life and romantic life as well. And she has pressure from family, friends to find something better to do than to work at the convenience store. So there's a lot of themes about what society values as like meaningful work, and I guess what your purpose in life should really be. But yeah, this is a pretty simple story, but hey, I mean, if you for some reason feel that you're struggling with like your purpose in life, or finding purpose in life, this might be worth a read just to give you some more context and perspective on other people, because I do know the author based it on her experiences working at a convenience store. So yeah, I mean, this comes definitely from the heart from her side, so definitely worth a read. I highly recommend it. So yeah, those are my recommendations. 6 different books, very different styles, genres, and perspectives from a couple of different countries. Not a lot of different countries, but I think 3 or 4. But yeah, let me know what you guys would recommend to people that are starting out to read. What got you into reading in the first place? What books are good, break books to read between like heavier stuff that are like under 200 pages? And what do you think about all these books? Which one's your favorite? Have you read them all? Which ones have you read in general? Thank you so much for watching, and please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye.